Let me tell you a small story. A man once went to a monk and said, "I want success." The monk smiled and asked, "What are you ready to give up for it?" The man replied, "Everything, except my comfort, my laziness, my social media addiction, my procrastination, and oh yes, my excuses." The monk gently smiled and said, "Then you don't want success. You want a fantasy." My friends, let's be honest. Every time we say, "I can't," what we're really saying is, "I won't." Not because we can't, but do it. Because we're choosing comfort over commitment, convenience over courage, excuses over execution. Excuses are like rocking chairs. They give us something to do, but they don't take us anywhere. Someone once said, "You can make progress or you can make excuses. You can't do both." A success doesn't demand perfection. It demands persistence. You don't need to be extraordinary. You need to be consistent. People aren't failing because they lack talent. They fail because they give better explanations than efforts. If we remove just anything from our life, excuses, we open the door to 1,000 possibilities. Stop waiting for the right time. There is no perfect time. There is just now. Take one small step without your favorite excuse today. And tomorrow, success will take one big step toward you. We often tell ourselves stories to justify our inaction. These stories feel real because we repeat them so often, they begin to sound like truths. "I'm too tired. I don't have time. I don't know where to start. Maybe it's not meant for me." But let's pause for a moment. Are these actual barriers or just convenient exit doors we've built for ourselves to avoid the discomfort of effort? Every excuse we make is like a brick. One brick by itself doesn't seem like much, but when you keep adding more, day by day, year after year, you build a wall. And the sad part is, that wall doesn't protect you. It traps you. It keeps you from your potential, from your dreams, from the life you are fully capable of creating. Think of a time when you really wanted something but told yourself a story to avoid it. Maybe it was starting a fitness journey, learning a new skill, applying for a job, or mending a broken relationship. The moment you hesitated, the mind stepped in with its usual playlist of excuses. And just like that, the opportunity slipped. We don't fail because of a lack of opportunity. We fail because we entertain the same recycled reasons again and again. We fail in the mind long before we fail in real life. The mind left unchecked will always choose comfort over challenge, safety over risk, and ease over effort. But success doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in challenge. To move forward, we have to become brutally honest with ourselves. We need to catch our excuses in real time. When you hear yourself say, "I can't," ask instead, "What if I did?" When you say, "It's not the right time," ask, "What small step can I take anyway?" It's not about being fearless, it's about being truthful. And the truth is, the stories we tell ourselves are often the only things holding us back. So next time an excuse rises in your mind, don't fight it, observe it. Understand why it's there. Is it fear, laziness, doubt? And once you identify the root, strip away the lie and act anyway. That's how progress is made. Not in giant leaps, but in tiny moments where we choose action over avoidance. And each time we do, we tear down a brick from that wall until one day there's nothing left between us and the life we truly want. When we stop making excuses, we shift from being a passive observer of life to becoming an active participant in shaping our destiny. It's a fundamental change, one that transforms us from merely existing to actually living with purpose. Excuses are subtle. They often appear in the form of seemingly reasonable thoughts. It's not the right time. I'm not good enough. Or they're just luckier than me. These thoughts create a fog that blurs our vision and weakens our will. The more we entertain them, the less we trust ourselves. Slowly, we begin to doubt not only our plans, but also our ability to follow through with them. But the moment we say, no more, something powerful happens. That shift, when we take responsibility for we are and what we're doing, marks the true beginning of personal growth. It's not about blaming ourselves harshly, but about owning our choices fully. When we say I am responsible, we are not just accepting the past. We are reclaiming the power to shape our future in Suddenly, the energy we were spending on explaining our limitations becomes fuel for breaking them. When we drop the excuses, we gain clarity. Instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? We start asking, what can I do about this? That change in language creates a change in mindset. Life stops being something that happens to us and becomes something we can influence. Every decision, every effort, every response begins to feel meaningful. Even challenges don't feel like blocks anymore. They become steps we climb. People often wait for motivation, but the truth is, action creates motivation, not the other way around. When you stop leaning on excuses, you start moving. You take one step, then another. And with every small act of effort, your confidence grows. You stop fearing failure because you realize progress matters more than perfection. Remember, every excuse you eliminate is one less chain holding you back. Each time you hold yourself accountable, you gain more control over your own narrative. And when you live with that level of honesty and commitment, success doesn't become a distant dream. It becomes an inevitable outcome. Because from that point on, you're no longer waiting for life to happen. You're creating it. The first step to ending excuses is to accept full ownership of our life. It may sound simple but it's one of the most challenging things to do. Ownership means that we no longer blame circumstances, people, time, or fate for where we are. It means we stop pointing fingers outward and start looking inward. As long as we keep saying things like, if only I had better support, or if only the situation was different, we give away our power. And the truth is, the more we give away that power, the weaker we feel. Responsibility is not a burden, it's actually the most empowering decision we can make. Think about this. No one else knows your dreams the way you do. No one else feels the fire in your heart the way you feel it. So why wait for someone else to come and make it happen? When we rely on others or external conditions, we're constantly at the mercy of things beyond our control. But the moment we say, I am responsible for where I am, and I am responsible for where I'm going, everything changes. You move from being a passenger to the driver of your own life. Taking ownership also means becoming aware of the small habits and patterns that shape our days. Are we waking up on time? Are we showing up consistently? Are we being honest about our effort? It's not about perfection. It's about sincerity. A person who is 100% sincere with their effort, even if the results are slow, is far more powerful than someone who is full of potential but makes excuses for not using it. And here's the beautiful part. Ownership doesn't mean doing everything alone. It simply means being accountable for what you can do, no matter the circumstances. Even in the worst situations, we always have a choice in how we react, how we grow, how we move forward. That choice is our responsibility, and no one can take it from us. People often confuse ownership with blame, but they're different. Blame is about the past. Ownership is about the future. Blame keeps us stuck. Ownership moves us forward. When we take ownership, we stop waiting for someone to hand us the perfect moment or opportunity. Instead, we say, I'll create it. That mindset turns every setback into a setup for growth. It turns frustration into focus, and it turns dreams into plans. So if you truly want to stop making excuses, begin by taking full responsibility for everything within your control. Your thoughts, your actions, your energy, your time. Once you do that, you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. And that is the beginning of real transformation.
Excuses are seductive. They wrap themselves in comfort and logic, whispering to us that it's okay to stay where we are. They say things like, you've already tried enough, or you're not ready yet, or maybe this isn't for you. And in that moment, it feels comforting. It gives us a way out. What we don't realize is that this comfort is temporary, and the cost of staying stuck is long-term. Excuses are the voice of fear disguised as reason. They don't come to protect us. They come to keep us small. Progress demands discomfort. It asks us to do things we're not used to push beyond what feels safe, and to step into unfamiliar zones. Growth never happens inside the boundary of our comfort zone. Think about anything worthwhile that you've ever achieved. Did it come from ease or effort? Was it born from convenience or commitment? If we wait for things to feel easy, we will wait for a lifetime. The truth is, life doesn't suddenly become easier. It doesn't get less complicated or less demanding. But we can become stronger, more focused, more resilient. And that strength comes when we choose discipline over excuses. When we embrace discomfort instead of avoiding it, we start to expand. Our capacity grows, our ability to endure challenges sharpens. We develop mental toughness. And with every small act of courage, waking up earlier, showing up when we don't feel like it, staying focused despite distractions, we build character. It's this character that eventually leads us to success, not sudden luck or external validation. Excuses may offer relief, but they take away results also. They may protect our ego in the moment, but they silently destroy our dreams over time. People often say, I'll start when I feel ready. But readiness is a myth. You become ready by starting. You become confident by trying. There is no light that suddenly turns on and says, now is the perfect moment. The truth is, the perfect moment is the moment you stop justifying your limitations and start acting in spite of them. It's also important to understand that every excuse we give today becomes a regret we carry tomorrow. And regrets weigh far more than effort ever will. We think discomfort is painful, but regret is heavier. The pain of discipline lasts for a moment. The pain of excuse lasts a lifetime. Every time we take the easier path, we delay our potential. But every time we push through and choose effort over excuse, we move one step closer to the life we desire. So when you hear that familiar inner voice saying, it's too hard or it's not the right time, pause and ask yourself, is this the voice of truth or the voice of comfort? The voice of comfort. And then remind yourself, comfort doesn't create champions. Discomfort builds empires. Progress only happens when we are willing to feel the fear and do it anyway. To feel the resistance and still rise, to acknowledge the excuse and still act. That's when growth begins. That's when change starts. Success isn't about massive leaps. It's about showing up daily, especially on the days you don't feel like it. We often romanticize success, imagining it as this one big moment. A breakthrough, a sudden victory, a grand achievement that changes everything overnight. But in reality, success is far more subtle, far more patient. It's not one giant step. It's 1,000 small steps that most people never see. And the truth is, those steps often happen when no one is watching, when there's no applause, no recognition, and sometimes not even motivation. There will be days when you feel inspired and energized, but there will also be days when you feel tired, distracted, doubtful, and unmotivated. And on those days, the temptation to make an excuse will be stronger than ever. You'll tell yourself, just for today, I'll skip it. I'll catch up tomorrow. Why need a break? But here's the catch. Those are the most important days to show up. Because discipline is not measured by what you do when it's easy. It's measured by what you do when it's hard. Consistency is not glamorous. It doesn't offer instant rewards. You won't always see the results immediately, and that can feel discouraging. But that's where most people give up, right before the compounding effect of their efforts kicks in. Think of it like planting seeds. You water the soil every day, even when nothing breaks the surface. It might take weeks or months before the first green shoot appears. But if you give up watering just because you can't see results, the seed dies underground silently. That's what happens with our goals too. We stop showing up, and the dream dies long before it had the chance to grow. Success is not reserved for the most talented, the most privileged, or the most connected. It is reserved for those who have the patience to persist, the strength to be consistent, and the courage to keep going when nothing seems to be working. Showing up builds trust with yourself, Every day you stick to the process. You send a message to your own mind. I can count on myself. That kind of self-trust is rare and it's powerful. Because once you trust your own consistency, nothing can shake your confidence. And here's another truth. People might not notice your consistency at first, but eventually they will. You may start in silence, but consistency creates its own noise. People begin to see results, changes, and success. Then they call you a lucky, not realizing that your look was built day after day when you quietly chose effort over excuse. So don't underestimate the power of showing up. Whether it's your workout, your business, your relationships, or your studies, consistency compounds. And while motivation may come and go like the weather, discipline can be your daily sun. Just keep showing up, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when no one claps. Because those days, the silent, effort-filled, excuse-free days, are the ones that build the life you're dreaming of. You will never meet a truly successful person who says, I succeeded because I made great excuses. Behind every success story, behind every achievement, there is always someone who chose action over hesitation, who chose to keep going when it was easier to quit, and who chose to push forward while others paused to explain why they couldn't. Success doesn't come to those with the best reasons. It comes to those with the best responses to challenges. Think of every person who inspired you, whose journey you admire. Whether it's an athlete, an entrepreneur, an artist, or a leader, none of them got where they are by saying, this is too hard, or I'll try when I feel ready. They got there by acting while others were overthinking. They kept moving forward when others were waiting for perfect conditions. They failed, yes, but they didn't sit with their excuses. They sat with their effort, and that made all the difference. We live in a world full of distractions and easy escapes. Social media makes it easy to compare ourselves to others and even easier to justify our lack of progress. We say they had more support, they had better luck, they started earlier. And slowly, these comparisons become excuses. But here's the thing. Every second spent comparing is a second wasted on action. Every moment used to explain why you can't is a moment taken away from what you can do. Can do. Excuses are contagious. Once you start making one, they multiply. One mistake becomes a week. One skipped step becomes a habit. But action is contagious too. The moment you break that excuse cycle with a simple step forward, you ignite momentum. And momentum is a powerful force. It pulls you out of laziness, out of fear, and into purpose. People often wait for motivation to take action. But the most successful people have realized that motivation is not reliable. It comes and goes. What they depend on is commitment, discipline, a deep internal agreement that they've made with themselves to show up. No matter what, they don't let excuses make decisions for them. They let values guide their steps. There's also a sense of peace that comes when you stop making excuses. When you know you gave your best, that you didn't hide behind justifications or run from effort, you begin to feel a deeper kind of confidence. You may not have all the answers or the perfect plan, but you have your integrity. And that is far more valuable than temporary comfort. Excuses might protect your ego in the short term, but they sabotage your growth in the long term. Every time you choose to act instead of excuse, you build not just your skills, but your self-worth. You start to believe in yourself, not because others believe in you, but because you prove to yourself that you are capable. So remember, no one ever reached the top of their field because they became experts in explaining why things couldn't work. They got there because they acted while others analyzed, they tried while others waited, and they pushed while others paused. That is what separates the dreamers from the doers, the ability to move forward without hiding behind an excuse. Excuses give temporary comfort, but permanent regret. They feel good in the moment. They relieve us from pressure, from the discomfort of trying, from the fear of failing. They are like a warm blanket on a cold morning, soothing, safe, and hard to let go of. But what we often fail to realize is that while they offer short-term emotional relief, they come with long-term emotional cost. That cost is regret. The quiet, heavy weight that shows up later and lingers far longer than the temporary ease that excuses provide. In the moment, saying, I'll do it tomorrow, or this isn't the right time, might feel justified. It feels like you're protecting your peace, your comfort. But fast forward days, months, or even years, and that same sentence now sounds like, I wish I had tried, or if only I had started earlier. Regret is always louder than the excuse that created it. While excuses fade quickly from memory, the results they prevented stay with us. Stay with us. We often underestimate just how heavy regret can be. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It quietly questions your worth, your potential, your choice. It shows up when you're alone, when you see others doing what you once dreamed of, or when life presents another opportunity, but you hesitate again, haunted by the one you miss. On the other hand, action, even if it leads to failure, leaves no regret. Because there is a deep pride in knowing that you tried, that you faced discomfort instead of running from it, that you chose courage over convenience. Effort doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees peace of mind. And that peace is far more valuable than the temporary comfort excuses provide. The irony is that we avoid effort because we want ease, but excuses lead to the opposite of ease. They lead to restlessness. We keep wondering, oh, what if? And that wondering becomes a mental burden. But when we take responsibility, when we act, even if progress is slow, we feel light. We feel aligned. We know we are living with intention, not avoidance. Excuses rob us not just of our goals, but of the person we could have become. They delay our growth, our learning, our development. They pause our progress but never pause time. And time, once gone, never returns. One excuse today might not seem like much, but make one every day, and you look back 1 year later, standing in the same place, wondering how others moved ahead while you stood still. But here's the beautiful truth. At any moment, we can decide to stop. We can stop seeking comfort in excuses and start seeking meaning in effort. We can begin to choose the short-term pain of discipline over the long-term pain of regret. Because while effort is uncomfortable, it is temporary. You struggle, you adapt, and eventually you succeed. But regret, that can last forever unless you choose now to break the cycle. So next time you feel the pull of an excuse, pause. Ask yourself, will this bring me peace now or pride later? Choose pride. Choose action. Because in the end, it's not the things we tried and failed that hurt us most. It's the things we never tried because we gave into the comfort of excuses.
Discipline begins the moment excuses end. Until that moment, we are ruled by moods, distractions, and fluctuating motivation. We do things only when we feel like it. But discipline doesn't care about feelings. It is grounded in purpose. It's a quiet commitment you make with yourself that says, I will show up no matter what. The moment you stop giving yourself the option to escape through excuses, the discipline takes the driver's seat. Excuses are based on emotion, while discipline is rooted in tension. You might feel tired, overwhelmed, or uninspired, but discipline reminds you of your goal. It brings your mind back to the reason you started in the first place. When you live by discipline, you don't wait to feel ready. You act, and in the process, readiness arrives. Most people believe motivation leads to action, but in reality, consistent action creates both discipline and motivation. Action becomes the fire that fuels itself. Think of anyone you admire. Athletes, creators, leaders. They don't wake up every day feeling inspired or energized but they have trained themselves to show up regardless. They know that waiting for perfect conditions is a trap. If you train your mind to only work when it's easy, you'll achieve very little. But if you train your mind to work even when it's hard, you become unstoppable. Discipline builds trust. Every time you do what you said you'd do, even when it's uncomfortable, you start to believe in yourself a little more. That belief becomes inner strength. It's a quiet confidence that says, no matter what life throws at me, I'll keep moving. Excuses destroy that trust. They chip away at your self-respect. They may offer short-term relief, but they slowly erode your belief in your own capability. One powerful way to break the excuse cycle is to create small non-negotiables. Daily practices that you do without question. It could be writing 1 page a day, exercising for 20 minutes, reading for 10, or simply getting out of bed at a certain time. These habits may seem small, but they sharpen your discipline muscle. And once that muscle is strong, it becomes easier to say no to distractions and yes to purpose. Let's be clear, discipline isn't about being hard on yourself or living a joyless life. It's about aligning your daily actions with your long-term values. It's saying, I care enough about my goals to stay loyal to them, even on the days I don't feel like it. That loyalty to your purpose is what makes all the difference between a dreamer and a doer. And the truth is, the more disciplined you become, the freer you feel. Because now, you're no longer ruled by chaos, mood swings, or unfulfilled promises. You have direction, you have structure, you have clarity. Discipline doesn't restrict you. It liberates you. It puts you in control of your life, your time, and your future. So when you feel that familiar excuse coming on, I'm too tired, I'll do it later, just one more day, pause. That's your turning point. In that moment, you get to choose surrender to the excuse or awaken your discipline. One leads to delay, the other leads to destiny. The moment you choose discipline over excuse, you become the kind of person who doesn't just wish for success. You work for it every single day. You don't need to see the entire staircase. Just take the first step without your excuse. This is one of the most liberating truths in the journey towards success. Often, we paralyze ourselves by overthinking. We want every detail planned out, every risk eliminated, every doubt silenced before we begin. But life doesn't work that way. Success rarely appears in one grand, clear picture. It reveals itself one step at a time. The most important move is not the 10th or the 100th step. It's their first. Because that's where you break the grip of excuses. Excuses love the unknown. They feed on uncertainty. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I waste my time? These questions are endless. And because we can't predict the outcome, we convince ourselves not to try at all. But what we don't realize is that waiting for clarity before we act actually creates more confusion. It's only in the doing that we find direction. Taking the first step doesn't require perfection. It requires courage. It's about starting before you feel ready, before you feel smart enough, skilled enough, or supported enough. Everyone who ever accomplished anything meaningful started in uncertainty. They didn't have it all figured out. What separated them from the rest was their willingness to take action in the face of doubt. We often think our problems are lack of time, lack of money, or lack of resources. But in most cases, it's the abundance of excuses that holds us back. These excuses disguise themselves as logic, but really they are rooted in fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, and fear of discomfort. When you take the first step without the excuse, you begin to challenge that fear. And with each step, the fear shrinks. Here's the beauty of action: it creates momentum. And momentum is more powerful than motivation. You may start small, writing one paragraph, going for a 10-minute walk, learning one new skill. But that small action sends a signal to your brain I am moving forward. And the moment you start moving, you activate belief. That belief builds confidence. And that confidence gives birth to consistency. Waiting for the perfect time is the big excuse in disguise. The right moment is a myth. There will never be a day when all stars align, when everything feels safe and easy. That's not how growth works. Growth is messy, it's uncomfortable, but it is real and it is worth it. Even if your first step is clumsy, awkward, or unclear, it's still progress. Because progress doesn't require perfection. It requires movement. And every time you take a step forward, no matter how small, you are doing something most people never do. You're acting without permission from fear. So when your mind says, I don't know how this will turn out, answer back, I don't need to know, I just need to start. The entire staircase will never appear at once, but the next step always becomes visible after you take the current one. Excuses will try to block your path by making you think you need certainty before action. But the truth is, action creates certainty. Movement creates momentum. And that momentum will carry you to places no excuse ever could. Success doesn't need a perfect plan. It needs a committed heart. Many people waste years designing elaborate roadmaps, waiting for ideal conditions, collecting endless information, and still never begin. Why? Because they confuse planning with progress. The world is full of people with brilliant ideas and detailed strategies. But the ones who succeed are those who act with commitment, not just intelligence. Planning can help, but it cannot replace action. And the foundation of all consistent action is commitment. A deep, personal promise to yourself that you will keep going even when the path is unclear. When we blame time, money, people, or the circumstances around us, we're essentially saying, I am not in control. But the truth is, the most powerful tool you have is not money, not opportunity, not even support from others. It is your I decision to be committed. That decision turns every obstacle into a stepping stone. It turns lack into creativity. It turns setbacks into lessons. Commitment says, even if I fall, I'll rise. Even if it's slow, I'll continue. Even if I'm tired, I'll take the next step. You don't need to know every move before you begin. You just need to be sure you won't quit. That inner fire, not to be perfect, but to stay persistent, is what builds momentum. You can have the most well thought out plan, but if your heart isn't in it, if you're not committed to the long game, then the first sign of difficulty will break your resolve. Success isn't about how excited you are on day 1. It's about how disciplined you are on day 50, the day 200, or day 1000. And when you stop blaming and start owning your path, everything shifts. Your focus sharpens. Your energy becomes intentional. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you, and you become your own rescue. You realize that no one else can want your dreams more than you do. The responsibility lies with you, and so does the power. Most people are waiting for clarity, for support, for motivation. But commitment says, I'll move forward even in the fog. Because success doesn't go to those who wait the longest. It goes to those who endure the most. Endurance doesn't require ideal conditions. It requires inner resolve. And that resolve is born when you commit to showing up. Not because it's easy, but because it's meaningful. There's another truth we often ignore. No one will care about your dreams more than you do. People may encourage you, but they won't carry you. They may applaud your ambition, but they won't do the work for you. That responsibility is yours. And when you embrace that truth with a full heart, your excuses begin to lose their power. You stop waiting for circumstances to change and start becoming the change yourself. When we commit deeply, we send a message to the world and to ourselves that we are ready, that we will stay the course no matter the weather, And slowly but surely, life begins to respond to that energy. Doors open, help arrives, the right people show up. Not because you were lucky, but because you were present and be persistent long enough for it all to come together. So forget the perfect plan. Begin with a strong heart. Begin with the will to rise, fall and rise again. Begin with the mindset that you will not outsource your destiny to your excuses. When your heart is committed, your path reveals itself. Slowly, perhaps, but surely in thee. And every step forward becomes a living proof that success was never about perfection. It was always about a persistence driven by purpose.